everyone. On behalf of the Wednesdays for Water, an initiative of the W4W Foundation, a think tank built as a citizens collective, we welcome you to another session of Water Talks. Today's session is the first part of a two-series session focusing on the wetlands in Northeast and India and their interaction with wildlife. Today, we take the discussion on the Deepor Beel, which is located approximately 15 kilometers away from the city of Guwahati, Assam, and its interaction and impact on the elephants over there. Wetlands are a place where water and dry land meet and a home to a wide range of species. And Deepor Beel is no different than other wetlands. It is a permanent freshwater lake that harbors many migratory birds every year along with other animals. And so the government of Assam established the Deepor Beel Wildlife Sanctuary in the year 1989. It is also one of the major stormwater storage basin for the city of Guwahati. The sanctuary, which covers an area of about 900 hectares, was listed as a wetland under the Ramsar Convention in November 2002. The concerning part here is that the external reports suggest that the wetland has shrunk around 35% in size since 1991. Despite being listed in the Ramsar Convention, 3 years later, a garbage dumping site came up on the east of the lake and now is about 24 hectares in size. The wildlife elephants on the Rani and the Garbhanga forest that lay on the south of the Beel are attracted to the water body. The rapid urbanization around Deepor Beel has led to the habitat fragmentation of elephants who have for years used the wetland for bathing in its water, feeding in its aquatic plant, and relaxing. So without further ado, I invite our first speaker, Dr. Nararyan Sharma. He is an educationist, conversation biologist and ecologist with 2 decades of experience working in the field of education and wildlife research in Northeast India. He is presently an assistant professor at the Department of Environmental Biology and Wildlife Science at the Cotton University, Guwahati. He's also an adjunct professor in the National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, Karnataka. He's an advocate for citizen science and takes initiative to take ecological science to the general public and popularize it. So welcome to our session today. I would like to start initiate the conversation by requesting you to give us a little historical context of the Deepor Beel and the proposed eco-sensitive zone and its impact on the wildlife around. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Megha, and it's really great privilege to be part of this discussion. So I think you have already set the tone for the next session or next session of discussion by highlighting the importance and the locations of the Deepor Beel. And Deepor Beel, as all of you know, is a very important a perennial water body which is located just 10 kilometers south-west of Guwahati city. And it has a long history actually. And the very name Deepor means, Deepor Beel. Beel actually means the wetland or the water body. And the very name Deepor Beel, it's derived from Deepa, which means in Sanskrit elephant. So actually, it would be, we can call this wetland as the lake of elephants. So the name, the elephants and the beel is synonymous to each other. And that's why it shows the importance of this beel to elephants and many other wildlife which are located in Deepor Beel and around the forest which is located just next to the Deepor Beel, Rani and Garbhanga Reserve Forest. And this beel, in fact, in entire Guwahati, so there are reports that which suggest that there were around 40 wetlands which were there in Guwahati long back. And most of these wetlands were connected. So in fact, some historians suggest that so people can start from something that there is a place called the Digoli Pukhuri. Then they can go up to Deepor Beel via these different channels. So So Deepor Beel, Guwahati basically was a very marshy land, and the entire area were connected. So there were many inlets to Deepor Beel, like right now the Moralu and the Basista Bahini. So their water in Deepor Beel, and there was an outlet also, which is very important. So there is a outlet to, and that opens to Brahmaputra. That's called the Khanamukh outlet. And because of this kind of structure, the Deepor Beel, there is a regular replenishment of, say, recruitment of, fish uh, and other species could migrate to from Brahmaputra to Deepor Beel and Deepor Beel to Brahmaputra and in many areas. But thanks to the completely unplanned ways the city has developed, so this the outlets, the Hanamuk now is a very small outlet. I don't think there is much exchange of fauna through Brahmaputra and the Beel. And one very important characteristic of this Beel is that during monsoon season, when the Brahmaputra is flooded, they used to come and replenish most of this Beel in the floodplains of the valley. And that's a characteristic, and that's why most of the Beels get their say stock of fishes and other wild animals regularly. But there are many Beels which are in Guwahati. As I said, there are 40 wetlands. Of them, I think you can count only handful of wetland today, and whatever is remaining are in a very dilapidated state. So most of them are as good as dead. So the water is completely polluted. So it cannot support any wildlife or any biodiversity in them. So, or you may see that you will find only those species which can cope up with the polluted water, and that is not going to say support a huge biodiversity. And Deepor Beel, as Meghna already said, that there is the garbage dump which is just next to Deepor Beel earlier, and because of the NGT directive, that was moved to a new place. But again, there was a lot of resistance to that move to a new place, and again the new garbage dump came out, which is just 1 kilometer away from Deepor Beel, and is still releasing leachates and like the during monsoon the garbage dump is flooded, and all the untreated water used to come to the body. So there's not much has been done to mitigate this kind of a problem. And also there are a lot of developmental activities that happen. So as rightly pointed out, the Deepor Beel area has shrunk vastly. So almost there were studies there that suggest that almost more than 30% area of Deepor Beel is shrunk. Initially, the shape of the Deepor Beel was like a elephant foot, but now I think the forest department that the wildlife sanctuary is only 4.1 square kilometer, and the holding capacity of Deepor Beel has also reduced drastically because of lot of developmental activities, lot of construction that happened, lot of encroachment that happened in Deepor Beel. And it is actually very like everybody knows about Deepor Beel in Guwahati, and everybody knows about the importance of Deepor Beel for Guwahati. Actually, this is also important to mitigate the flood conditions in Guwahati. But despite of all these facts, I think there is not concrete things that has been done to Deepor Beel. And one of the major problem that has impacted Deepor Beel and the elephants is the railway line, which is there towards the south end of the Deepor Beel. And it's a single line, and there is a proposal of expanding it to the double line. So just think about it. Because of the single line, there was a lot of elephant mortalities. I think close to 15 elephants were killed over the last 10 years, and scores of other animals which are hardly documented. So we're regularly being killed in this railway track. But instead of moving that railway track towards the north of the Deepor Beel, which was the demand for most of the people and most of the conservationists, but now there is going to be uh, one more railway track there, so it will be a double track now, and there will be the electrification, so which is not going to help the elephants because they are very very tall, and if they raise their trunk, I think there might be a possibility of electrification of elephants. So these are some of the problems I think we can, as we go along. It, there are other speakers who will also highlight these issues, and there are issue of this declaration of the eco-sensitive zone. Um, uh, but if you look at this, the eco-sensitive zone was designed in such a way that so it's the whatever gone, I think it's very difficult to bring those areas back. So there are like a eco-sensitive zone which are also 0 kilometers. So that means where the Deepor Beel start, and so that is the boundary of the Deepor Beel is itself is the eco-sensitive zone. So there is no 1 kilometer thing which was there. I think the Supreme Court is also possible. I think that every protected area should have at least 1 kilometer. So if that happens, then there a lot of this other establishment will come under this ambit. And if that is the case, why the railway line is being gone is going through the middle of the Deepor Beel. So that is also something that we need to think about. And one important thing when we talked about Deepor Beel, I think the adjacent forests are also extremely important for the. We should take the forest of Rani and Gorbonga as well as the Deepor Beel in the same way. And I did a study of so, and then there are also a lot of people which are dependent on Deepor Beel. So, and people, forest department is trying their best to pursue them not to do fishing within the core areas, core area of the Deepor Beel, and when the migratory birds are there, but it's not been successful. Then we did a survey of this adjoining villages, and we are asking what kind of alternative livelihood they wanted. So the many people said that they will do this, but some of the areas where like a village like Kyotpara has a population of close to 500 villages, 500 households, but some of the people are exclusively dependent on Deepor Beel. So they were saying that if we are not going to Deepor Beel every day, so we don't have anything to say eat at the evening because we cannot get any fish. That means we cannot sell any fishes, and we are completely, and there is no other alternative that we have. So, and towards the north is the problem, and people say that there are more than 1,200 households which are dependent on Deepor Beel, but I think that's a little debatable. We need to refine this number and look at the people who are directly dependent on Deepor Beel and how to persuade them, if possible, how to say give them some alternative livelihood. There are some initiative that has been done. So there is an organization which is helping the girls of Kyotpara to use the water hyacinth. This is a exotic weed. So if you come in summer, so you'll see a lot of water hyacinth there, and so then all of you know that water hyacinth is completely covered the Deepor Beel, and there's a lack of oxygen for the species, aquatic species, that's creating havoc there. So they try to make some of the products out of the water hyacinth. So there's something called the Murhen yoga mat that they are producing through processing of this water hyacinth. So there are some things that has been going on. And then there are a lot of people who are actively participating in, saving the Deepor Beel. For example, there are people like Pramod Kalita from Chapardev Kalitapara and his team, which are raising this issue of corridor being blocked and the elephants have been getting killed due to the, say, speeding train and the problem of the garbage dump. So at the one hand, I think on one hand there are the realization is that we need the Beel. So I don't think anybody is saying that we do not need the Beel, including the legislature or the politicians. But and then there are a lot of research which are showing that the impact of this garbage dump on the fishes. For example, there was a study by a group of scientists from IESST, which is adjoining to the Deepor Beel. They found that a lot of fish species which are very sensitive to pollutions are not around, not present in the polluted areas. And there are some fishes which are able to survive in the polluted environment, like the catfish. They are accumulating lots of heavy metals which are released from the garbage dumps. So these are the issues that also I think is important for the human health and water. As I said, so it's a very important, stormwater reservoir during the flood. Whatever the surplus water is used to go to the Deepor Beel, so that the flood condition in Guwahati is not that much. But now I think because there are a lot of blockades, there are a lot of garbage that has been thrown to this inlet channels. So due to which the water supply to the Deepor Beel has been curtailed, or whatever water is going there, it's mostly sewage and untreated water. So that actually the people around this Deepor Beel, they used to say that if you earlier we used to swim there, we used to drink water from Deepor Beel, but now it's you cannot put even your cannot just get down to the Beel. It's that polluted. So if you get down, then you get a lot of irritations in your skin. So these are the problems. So in front of our eyes, I think this one very important wetland area is actually been deteriorating day by day, and there are need for I would say that we need to have a very rapidly we need to restore this bill. Otherwise, and we need to address the problem of the garbage dump and how to mitigate the impact of the railway track as well as the road which is passing through that one. So these are some of the issues of Deepor Beel. And remember, this is a Ramsar site. This is the wetland of international significance. In fact, this is the only one single Ramsar site in Assam. And also it's an important bird area. So there are more than 200 bird species, more than 100 species of aquatic plants, and close to 20-25 mammalian species, and scores of fish species are there in the field. And it's giving huge ecosystem services to the people. And I think this is a very nice forum through which we can raise this voice and ask the people to understand the problems and come out with some of the solutions, so that we can have a Deepor Beel, so that it can actually contribute more ecosystem services to the people. So in fact, a lot of the people who if you go in the weekend or some other holiday time, you see that people are throwing into the Deepor Beel, because it's a natural water body, and the people definitely want to go there and have some good time. So, and it has an immense potential, but it is in endangered status. So with this, I would like to thank once again, and I will be able to take any question in the discussion session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. You actually gave us a very good brief about the entire importance of the Deepor Beel. and how it is on not only impacting the human life, but the aquatic plants and the birds and the fisheries. Everything is getting dependent. It's a correlation between the existence of all the lifestyle over there. So we would actually welcome our next speaker to know more about actual on-site issues over there. The next speaker is Mubina Akhtar. She's worked with various publications and penned thousands of reports, articles on nature and wildlife. She comes to be reckoned as an important voice by both the people and policymakers on issues related to environment and wildlife protection. She has also worked on transboundary conservation projects like Elephants on the Line 2014 and Indo-US Bhutan program on reducing human-elephant conflict, and presently leading a campaign of Living with Leopards, an initiative on human-leopard coexistence in the urban landscape of Guwahati. So welcome, Mubina, for this session today. And we would actually like to know more. Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So we would actually like to start the conversation today to know more about the relationship between the megafaunas of like the elephants and other animals that are dependent on the wildlife, on the wetland in general, and their interaction in this area. If you can highlight on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Megha. And this is indeed my pleasure to be a part of this discussion and part of this session of Wednesdays for Water. And as Dr. Sharma, he has really given a historical insight into the wetland Deepor Beel and the interrelationship between the elephants and the beel. So what I would like to dwell in the next 10 or 12 minutes is the relationship between megafaunas like elephants and how they are dependent on the wetland, and the refuges of the elephants along the wetland, that is the Deepor Beel, and how they are being destroyed, and how rapid urbanization, linear projects, and growth of industries have been impacting the zombos, and then human-elephant conflict or interaction rather in the area, and yes, of course, how youths in that area are trying to reduce this conflict. So when we come to the relationship between megafaunas like elephants and how they are dependent on wetlands, we all know that wetlands play an important role as wildlife habitats for a wide range of species and support livelihoods of a number of communities living by that area. So Deepor Beel is no exception. It is a permanent, as you have already mentioned, it is a permanent freshwater lake that harbors many migratory birds all the year, every year, and most importantly, the elephants. Deepor, as the very name suggests, is a traditional refuge of the elephants, the Asian wild elephants, and has been protected as a wildlife sanctuary. So these elephants, they come to rest, bath, and eat at the wetland. So the elephants are found to play a significant role for livelihood management of Deepor Beel, the system itself. So this has we have found that in Deepor Beel, the Asian elephants and the fisher folks, they have actually coexisted for centuries. The elephants use the lake for bathing and consume its nutrition pack aquatic vegetation like the water hyacinths, as you have mentioned, and the mahna we are so fond of. And sorry. After resting at Deepor Beel, the elephants have, they usually make their way back to the nearby Rani and Garbhanga forest. And this is happening, this process is going on for eons, I must say. So elephants, when they come down from the surrounding Rani and Garbhanga forest to utilize the beel for drinking water, for cooling themselves, and to consume a large quantity of food from the wetland. And in the process, what they do, they just leave impressions of their footprints that are formed in the marshy baseline of the water body as a result of their playful movements. So we have seen many studies covering that, and these studies say that these impressions left by the wild elephants, they gradually take the form of depression. So these depressions are very safe and viable, safe zones for breeding of fish, and this helps the local fishing community. So we can see this interrelationship between the community and the elephant. So again, when elephants hunt for their aquatic food in the wetland, they often uproot and remove many unwanted vegetation or the eatables, and they thus make the water surface clean. So what happens, Narayana sir has already mentioned about the hyacinths, like they create some difficulty because of and what happens when the elephants they move inside the wetland, they help actually in unblocking the sun rays, which allow a smooth flow of dissolved oxygen into the base, that is so essential for continuation and growth of many aquatic species, and that includes the fishes. So we have seen these interrelationships time and over time, but what is happening that these the refuges meaning the sensories or the forest, there are the Garbhanga and the Rani forest along the wetland, they are being like depleted. So over a period of time, we have seen the illegal felling of trees, then rapid urbanizations, the change in land uses patterns. So this is also really impacting the zombos. And so so what is happening, and moreover, as mentioned earlier, that we have been talking of the garbage dumping site. So this has made the water more toxic in the Deepor Beel. So elephants, as the locals now points out, that the elephants rather earlier they used to come stay there for 2-3 days nights, but they don't now stay there beyond beyond a few hours. So what happens? They will move into the nearby vicinity, into the human settlement, raiding for food. So this has increased the human-elephant interaction in the area. And other from that, we have seen he has mentioned, so has also mentioned about the railway line. That railway line has actually cut the part of the whole elephant habitat, the Deepor Beel, the Rani Garbhanga area, and a road also that goes to the airport, Guwahati airport. This has cut through the middle of the sanctuary, the greater wildlife habitat, elephant habitat, and this is actually fragmenting the elephant groups, that is increasing the human-elephant interaction in that area. So what is happening now? After the railway line have come up, we have seen large number of elephant deaths in that area. And it was from the forest department sources reveal that since that start of the railway line, we have seen at least till 2013 some 15 elephant deaths in that particular area. So youths of that area, they have now come up. They are trying to manage that situation. They are trying to reduce that conflict, and they have formed as groups, like they call themselves Hati Bondhu. That is the friends of elephants. So what they do, they coordinate between the railways and between the forest department. And whenever there is a movement in the nearby forest, they would just inform the forest department. The forest department in the process, they will inform the railways or the station master, and the station master in the process will caution the driver some at times to stop the train, or at least to slow the speed of that moving train. So after 2013, we have seen that less number of elephants have been actually knocked down in that particular area by moving trains. So these are actually very ground realities. How we have seen in the process the interrelationship between humans, the fishing communities, the wetland and elephants have been destroyed by such alien kind of things. This is happening. But if you ask me what I see as a more important trait for the Deepor Beel, to me, it is the promotion of tourism, the indiscriminate promotion of tourism that is like sounding alarm bells for all our protection areas, the protected areas, whether it's the forest or the wetlands. So when there are some the smart city mission, Guwahati has come under smart city mission project, and we have seen the government and the authorities emphasize that Deepor would soon become a tourism hub. They envisaged a water park inside Deepor Beel. Just tell me, how can you envisage a tourism destination inside a protected area, whose first and foremost condition is that for protection, that is conservation. So these kind of threats are looming large over Deepor Beel, because I'm not touching the points here already spoken by Nararyan Sharma. So these are other traits, and I simply personally feel that we simply cannot presume that. I'm sorry, the light is very disturbing. Okay.
It's fine.
Okay. Let me adjust my screen. Okay. So we simply cannot presume that wetlands could be conserved under all kind of exploitation, all kind of development project, all kind of sustainable use. In fact, such presumptions actually been the reason for rapid exploitations of our so vulnerable ecosystems like the wetlands. So I believe that Deepor, in order to remain active and to perform some definite ecosystem services, we need more a conservational approach for its conservation than it to be reduced as a tourism hub for simply for generating revenue. So in a nutshell, that's what I want to talk about. And I think in the process, we'll be talking more on these issues. And thank you for your patience, Jerry.
Thank you, Mubina. You actually touched on various topics regarding the ecology as well as the interaction between the human indigenous people settlement over there and the initiative that the youth are taking over there to save the elephants. It's actually wonderful to know about such initiatives that are being taken. I would actually now like to hear from our third speaker today, Mayuri Phukan. Mayuri Phukan is a doctoral researcher in the Utrecht University of Netherlands. Mayuri is currently working on hydrological interaction in the Himalayan ecosystem of Nepal and its impact on prey-predator relationship. She is also the co-founder of the Northeast Development Agency, which works on various sustainability concerns in Northeast India through collaborations with different youth networks and the production of outreach materials. She is also an Oxfam Young Water Leader. She has a postgraduate degree in water science and governance program from Terry School of Advanced Studies, New Delhi. Welcome, Mayuri, to this platform. I would actually like to initiate the conversation and request you to highlight some of the youth initiatives that are being taken in this area in general to what are the training programs that are being done, or is the youth being actually more well known about these problems, or are they just not aware of these problems? So I welcome you on this platform and give you the platform henceforth. Thank you.
Thank you, Megha, and thank you, Team W4W Foundation, for having me here today. Well, the speakers before me, they really put forward the actual issues that's been going on in Deepor Beel, and I would like to keep the conversation going. Let's look at a few visuals before diving into what the youths are doing. Yeah. So if we look at these pictures, and well, if you just type in Google about elephant deaths in Assam, you'd see a list of incidences happening where elephants have died of non-natural causes. The statistics are alarming because, according to a report by MOEFCC, Assam records the highest death of elephant due to train collision, uh, highest in the country. And the number of elephant deaths that have happened by electrocution is also really high. Considering all these numbers and figures and photos in front of us, let's look at this map of Assam. Here are actually, it's a very interesting study done by Ahmedan Saikia, which maps a few railroads which passes through some major elephant reserves and wildlife forests of Assam. As you can see, this is the area, the Rani Reserve Forest and Garbhanga Reserve Forest, where Deepor Beel is located nearby. And a railroad also passes through it. And as discussed, there has been many deaths of elephants, not just in this area, but in the entire state as a whole. And this is so that we remember the gravity of the situation that we are talking about today. And coming to the Deepor Beel itself, again, the speakers before me have already highlighted the problems. I'm just here to show a few visual products. So if we see, this is Deepor Beel, but near the Deepor Beel, there's a Boragaon dumping site, which is a big dumping site where municipal waste of the city is dumped. There are inlets to this Deepor Beel, the rivers, which are Vasista Vahini and Morab Horolu. And these are also sewage-laden streams that carries waste, not just household waste, but commercial waste from parts of Guwahati city and passes through Deepor Beel, and ultimately it goes to Brahmaputra River. Um, so now that we have these visuals in front of us, we can talk a little bit about what the youth of the region are doing, how they are congregating in very grassroots level and looking at protection and conservation of Deepor Beel. One of the major issue that comes to play while looking at various environmental degradation issues is to actually know what the problem is. Sure, there is knowledge in academia, knowledge within research cycles, but for this knowledge to come to actual on ground, to people who are at the ground level who might not read these research papers or these reports, this is where youth groups, I think, takes a very important role. And well, a large number of youth have congregated. They are mostly from the state of Assam and from nearby areas of Deepor Beel, but they are also joined by youth uh, from throughout the state. And a major work that is being done is researching on what the actual problem is, why there has been so many elephant deaths. They are even tracking different elephant deaths even before the press reaches there, and reporting these findings through various newspaper articles, various, as you'd see, there are some pictures of these public discussions. There are group discussions happening. Most of them are, I would say, concentrated in local language, which is good because, well, that's the language of the people. But some of them are also done in English so that there is a greater reach. Um, and social media is also used largely to spearhead various campaigns. Uh, these are mostly done, most of these campaigns are done to build and mobilize public pressure on different authorities, the state government, the forest department, the Northeast Frontier Railways, to take action on the issues that is happening around Deepor Beel, its degradation, and to address the causes which are adding to the degradation and shrinking of the wetland and the jumbo deaths. One of the issues that is being pushed forward now is the realignment of the railway line, which we were talking about earlier, that passes through Deepor Beel and actually blocks the elephant corridors, the elephant pathways coming from Rani and Garbhanga forest. Uh, this is in accordance to a NGT order which came out in 2020. I think it came out in February 2020 about realigning the railway lines. But it is again a big issue because now the Northeast Frontier Railways have also given a affidavit to NGT. This is in line with certain MOEFCC notification, which says that railways do not need to take permission from state departments to do activities on their own land. So there are always these conflicts between different government departments, I would say. And youth groups are trying to put pressure on these agencies into doing something which is scientifically correct, doing things which are ecologically beneficial. And then, as there are a lot of villages around Deepor Beel, where most of the indigenous people live. These are people of different communities of Assam who have been living there for long, and some of them are at the forefront of these activities, these youth-led activities. One is Hati Bandhu, as Mubina has already spoken about. These are initiatives where volunteers collaborate with forest guards to inform the railway station masters about elephant presence within nearby the railway lines. And in 2019, one of the Hati Bandhus met with death. His name was Koliaboro, while actually trying to save a herd of 20 elephants from an incoming train. And yeah, there are other campaigns and drives which are also being led by these youth groups. Mostly a lot of cleanup drives, a lot of public consultation drives are being led by youth groups. Sometimes if you're wondering about what is this photo of a man with a picture of a bird, it's actually a greater Edgerton stork, which is an endangered species. And there is a women-led initiative which is called the Hargila Army that works into preservation of these birds, which are frequently found in the dumping site around Deepor Beel. So we should also realize that Deepor Beel is a whole ecosystem on its own, with the water body and the forests, the elephants, and of course, birds. And yeah, so as we talk about these different initiatives led by youth, let's also quickly talk about some of the challenges that youth face while taking action for nature conservation. Firstly is keeping up the momentum, because of course, a lot of these works are being done voluntarily out of passion. So there comes the question of financial support, even support administrative backup, which is usually not there. You'd need a big consensus to mobilize political will. So is there anything that larger organizations can do to support these youth groups who are working so hard for conservation of the Deepor Beel? So, and then also something about the communication. Like I said, most of this work is being done in Assamese language and has quite a good reach, but is there something that we can do to ensure that a larger group of population is reached? Because the more the number of people and voices, the greater support is towards a cause. So yeah, this was something that I wanted to share a little bit about what is being done by youth groups. And now we can take some questions, which are in the chat box, I guess. But before that, there's a list of resources and social media platforms. There's this group called Deepor Beel who are present in Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And they are the groups who have been doing a lot for Deepor Beel. If we follow their pages, we'd see what kind of activities. Sometimes there are a call for collaborations. And some of the reading links, which maybe I can post in the chat box. A little bit, 1 minute on it, on the initiative NEDA. We are an association of young professionals, and we have a blog platform where we invite different authors to write about different issues related to sustainability concerns of Northeast India. we have a podcast which is called Logically Local, and we try to talk about local issues and local solutions. And it is also in Assamese, but we will try to do something in English this year for greater reach. And then we also organize different conversational events, we call them, with different youth networks. So yeah, let the conversation continue, as I would like to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayuri. Thank you for highlighting the initiatives that the youth are taking actually and trying their best to bridge the gap between the various departments and various collaborators that are actually trying to do things in their own small parts. So I would actually open the platform for all the audiences for question answers. If there are any, people can put their questions on the chat box if that is what they're comfortable with. But to start the conversation, I have a question where I'm not sure if you would like to take the question or Mubina can take the question. I would just like to know if there is any activities that involve the youth or the indigenous people over there, which actually gives them a platform to talk to the policymakers or the people who are actually in charge of the development that is taking around in that area. So Mubina, would you like to take the question?
We have recently seen the constitution of the Deepor Beel Conservation Development Authority, whatever, but we haven't seen the local people on the ground as stakeholders in these bodies. So this is a huge gap. Actually, incidentally, tomorrow there will be a group coming to meet me, because we are planning it on that level, how to just decrease that gap between the local stakeholders, the different stakeholders, and the political, the government or the administrative group. So this is happening tomorrow. And after that, I think I can say what will be actually done, because there's the concerns from the ground. Sometimes we cannot really present the way the locals will be presenting it before the administration. So we need their voices to be heard in that, because their voices matters most to me.
But I think there is one group called Deepor Beel Suraksha Manch. So they have constituted, I think, it's a recent one, and they are actually taking all the initiative. In fact, they are going to these garbage dumps, talking with the commissioner, the GMC commissioners, talking with the local MLAs, raising awareness. So, and I come to know this through Pramod Kolita, which Mayuri showed just now. So he's the one of the person who's the leading all this initiative, and it's particularly towards the south of Deepor Beel. From the north, like at Kyotpara and all those areas. So there are some of the activities that I mentioned that there's this organization called Seven Weave. So they are promoting this handicraft by water hyacinth. But I think overall, the mostly the people from Pamuhi to Politapara Chokordeo, so they are extremely active in understanding. So they are going and raising this question of why they are doing this double track. Say they are going and talking to the local MLAs. So quite an active group that is, and it has been come very recently. So in fact, once I went to this new garbage dump also, and I can see this. They were also talking with the commissioner, because the smell is unbearable. People are complaining about the smell coming out of garbage dump, which was not there earlier. And there are people whom they say there are a lot of this insect. I'm not sure what kind of that insect is. They said when the garbage dump came, and their house is entirely covered with some of these insects, so which is extremely unhealthy. And people are coming and expressing their grievances to them. So yeah, because it was supposed to be a Mubina, you know that it was supposed to be a treatment plant. So after a treatment, only you can throw this one, but it's not happening. So the garbage is they are picking garbage from what it just throwing it there without any kind of treatment. So that is creating problems. So if they would have done this, segregate the garbage and did some sort of treatment plant there, that still would have been better. But right now it's just picking from one place and throwing it to near the Deepor Beel, and without without following any proper scientific methodology. For example, there is something called some sort of bed, I think. So if you put those, the leachate, it cannot leach to the ground level, or the water cannot go to the, so the leachate cannot go and mix with the river. So that nothing has happened actually. That's a sad reality there.
I just want to add a little to what Dr. Sharma has said, that regarding any NGOs or groups working that has come up, he talked about promote will be coming, because we are planning it not only, we are connecting actually different wetlands together. Deepor Beel, then we have the Sandubi Beel, that is also going through different threads, and then again Dora Beel, then Kamranga Beel, that is a huge wetland. Now we have seen how it land use patterns has changed, and it is the Kamranga Beel has also the same interrelationship between elephants and people in that area.
From the Amcham.
So we are taking it together as a group. So we are already christened it as the Poribek Prakitik Horoikha Moncho already. So this will every particularly the wetlands of Kamrup will come under this new.
Yeah, in fact, Dora Beel and the Sandubi and that entire the area is very important habitat for Asiatic dolphin, Gangetic dolphin, and one of the very critically like a very endangered species in this part of the country. And I think you are absolutely right. I think if we should not only look at Deepor Beel as such, but at a much larger landscape level, if you look at this, there is a forest, there is Amchang, there is Kamranga, and then there is Dora Beel, there is Sandubi. These are extremely important areas. I think we keep talking about Kaziranga and Manas and all those things, but these are the areas that actually giving benefit or ecological ecosystem services to the citizen of Guwahati, so to the people of Guwahati actually, if you look at it. So if we look at from that perspective and connect like what are the ecosystem services they are providing to the people of Guwahati, I think we can then relate people with the conservation of this one. Otherwise, the people will think, okay, these are just like any other forest which can be say compromised for other developmental activities. Yeah, that's a very laudable initiative. So, like, love to know about this later.
Yes, that's actually good to know that there are more activist groups who are actually trying to do their part in more actively to stop these encroachment that is happening to save the wildlife and the aquatic plants and animals over there. I would like to actually take a question from Vibhu sir. He's raised a hand, and I'll invite him to speak up in case if he can. Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Megha, and thank you so much all the speakers. It was wonderful hearing you all. I mean, this the story that we heard, and also the pictures that Mayuri was showing was really quite disturbing. You know, I do not know whether this whole idea of having a landfill right near such an important wetland like Deepor Beel. I mean, why I say it important, because that's a lake which we hear about, right? Like, I mean, I had never been to Guwahati, but you know, there has been several studies published on that, so that's something that is quite known. So isn't any litigations or civil society petitions against having these kind of things? One second, in Mayuri's picture, I could see cattle near the landfill sites also. So is it that the cattle's also that's a source of food? This dump site is a source of food for the cattle as well? Yeah, thank you.
Would you like to take the question, Mayuri?
Yeah, okay, fine. Yes, so coming to the first question about litigations regarding the dump site, initially in about a year back, there was a proposal by the state government to uh, transfer the dumping site to another site, but coincidentally, the site that was chosen to make this transfer was also near another Beel. So I do not understand why most of these dumping sites are being chosen near the wetlands, but I would like to assign it to human tendency of dumping city garbage away from the city center near any of the river body that can be found. And well, that's the ongoing issue. And yeah, these dumping sites, if you happen to see pictures online, there are kettles, there are there are rag pickers, there are people who actually look for things within this dumping site, maybe plastic and glasses. There are, like I said, greater adjacent storks who, because of their habitat destruction, they are now dependent on these dumping sites to scavenge food. So yeah, there are a lot of other animal interacting with the dumping sites as well. But it's not doing any good to the whole ecosystem. There is leachates, there is whenever there is a rain, most of the there will be surface overflow which directly flows to dumping to the Deepor Beel from the dumping site. And rains, as we know in Assam, is a very common occurrence. It rains most of the time, so it is indeed a very big problem.
Yeah, actually, quite easily highlighted that the weather over there plays a lot of important role over there, because it rains most of the time and very heavily, as you said. So even a day of rain can actually disrupt uh, the the chemical balance over there, in terms of the dumping site being over there, and also the other activities that are being done, like construction activities, which influence these water bodies, and indirectly obviously influence the people and the living organisms that are dependent on this water body. So I hope that the question was answered, Vibhu sir, and we would like to take the next question from, I think Mansi ma'am has raised her hand, and I'll invite her if she can speak up and ask her question herself.
Thanks, Megha. I also see Vishal has asked question, and there is a student who has asked question. But thanks for giving me the opportunity. I will just take this. Thanks, Narayan, Mubina, and Mayuri for the wonderful presentation. I have two quick questions which are partly answered. But first to Narayan, because when we are really doing these kind of developmental activities, and NGT is also very active, especially in Ramsar sites and all. I'm just trying to understand, is Ramsar having any say on doing these approvals? Because many of the time NGT's role comes later, and often court steps in to say that development is more important. And for example, in this case, Mayuri was also mentioning, and even Mubina mentioned, that railway says that it is my land and I can go on and do something. I mean, this polycentricity and conflict in the polycentricity. But if we have it as a Ramsar, I have failed to see Ramsar's intervention into these developmental decisions into regional projects. So that's my question to you. Mubina, I know you are mobilizing people left, right, and center, up, bottom, and middle, and you have been very active doing that. And you are mentioning tomorrow there is meeting like that. But when these developmental projects are happening, I mean, I'm just trying to understand, because Assam also represents most of the way Northeast functions. It's like a representative sample, I will say, and Deepor Beel is of the rare beels there. Do you really see citizens' participation before the developmental projects are approved, or it is now that people of Assam are so active that it is happening? So I will stop here.
Coming to your next question, the second question. So, what about the citizens' role before any development projects is entering? So, we haven't seen such participation from the at the citizens level. But thank heavens we have a very vibrant local media. So any issue, you see it in the media, and that really maybe mobilizes opinion, and that way we can actually thwart some moves that is so so dangerous to these protected areas or wildlife conservation, whatever, or nature conservation. Coming to Deepor Beel, in that case, any wetland, you think Deepor Beel enjoys, it is high on the priority list, like it is a protected area, wildlife sanctuary. It is an important bird area. It is a Ramsar site, and see, we have a dumping site inside. It has turned, the whole wetland has been turned into a cesspool. So just imagine, this is happening in Guwahati, just near the administrative headquarters. Just think of what the other wetlands in the remote areas are going through. So for our policymakers and in our land records, actually, we have wetlands are actually wastelands. So until and unless we can change this thing, this concept, I think all the wetlands are will be going through the same kind of situation. And we need to mobilize more citizens into these activities. We need to mobilize, I believe, more students into these, because whom we are going to meet tomorrow, like they will be coming from Sandubi, there is another wetland there, but there will be people coming from Povitara or Khamranga. So most of them will be students. And when the garbage site from Deepor Beel was like shifted for some time, not wholly but partially, to Sandrapur area, as Mayuri has mentioned, it was the confluence of three important rivers. And it was like they were planning it just above the hill on the Kapili River, where the people were like going, getting their treated water from that particular point, and uphill they were planning to plan that dumping site or landfill. So this is happening because we don't have policy. In the policy level, we are very poor. We cannot really like mix. It is what I will say. Like sometimes we are really disappointed, but then there are important voices, and when it comes to voices from the young generation, where we are really like unleavened, and tomorrow I think I look forward that something is going to happen in that way, at least for the wetlands in the Kamrup area, in the district of Kamrup. After that, we can take the Kajal to different areas also, but for the moment, we are just concentrating on the big wetlands in the Kamrup district alone, and that includes the Deepor Beel also.
So that question of whether Ramsar site is not intervening, so I'm not sure about how the Ramsar, the mechanism of like UNESCO, they put some sites in danger category. I don't know whether that kind of categories are there. So I need to look at it little detail. And so what, after declaration of say Ramsar site, whether there are mechanism to access the status or how it is doing, or whether it's doing better, or whether we can what kind of say threats are there. It's just like the UNESCO endangered category. So if I'm not sure about it. But yeah, that's a very good question actually. I can
Thank you, Nararyan. I visited last year Deepor Beel, and I immediately fell in love with it, but it was really painful.
Yeah.
By the way, Ramsar does not intervene in developmental projects. That's the irony.
So that I think we need to explore it a little bit. And I completely echo with what Mubina was saying about this. So I think we need to really start looking like nature. Like the forest has actually completely overshadowed all other ecosystem, I must say, because there is a status of forest report, but why not status of wetland report every 2 years or 3 years? So and which are actually 10 times more productive than a tropical rainforest. So even the there was a meeting recently, and it was rightly said that the government concern is mostly about the plantations. supply, restoration of forest, restoration, plantation. But you'll be surprised to know that wetland has more, say, capacity to absorb carbon sequestrations.
Exactly.
So yeah, I know that they are also contributor to the methane gases. But I think we really need to set this thing that okay, only forest, only plantation. What to do in the World Environment Day? Go and plant a tree. Why not go and clean a river? Why not go and clean a wetland? I think so. So I also try to like in while teaching also I try to give less emphasis on the forest and equal emphasis for all of the ecosystem like grassland. So grassland were completely decimated as a westland. What she rightly said in all the British gazetteers, all the historically apparasums, this grassland has gone because okay, the westland give room for tea. I think the plight is also that we are overemphasizing on forest and what kind of forest. So the forest is full of Tectona grandis or full of sal, which is useless, like ecologically, which is useless. Perhaps they are good for soil conservation. They are holding the soil. Perhaps the timber, that's okay. But what about the mixed forest? So I think we also need to whenever possible, I think we need to bring the importance of these lesser known ecosystems. So I think we need to really change the mindset, and the youth, today's youth, I think is quite smart. I think to understand this kind of importance. So for example, it's a mostly the green infrastructure, whatever the blue infrastructure that are vital for city life, vital for our own survival, right? So yeah, I think we really need to move towards that direction, and I think Mayuri and other people are doing just that. That's really heartening to me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for actually bringing in light of all the efforts that are being put. I would actually invite Albin, who has raised his hand. I'm not sure if they have a question or any comments that they want to share with us. Alvin Thomas, do you want?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay. I just had a basic question, and that's regarding that since we all know the very basic step to resolving such issues, just like climate change, is first and foremost education at the very grassroots level, right? So let's say at schools or universities. So can these youth initiatives or youth activists be deployed in, or have they been deployed to, schools or institutions for basic awareness and or such programs? Are they being conducted, or is there a possibility of them being conducted? Because there might be a chance of, them taking issues the government or, local politicians. So are there such initiatives being taken, or can they be taken in the future, looking at the present environment?
Mayuri, do you have anything to add to that?
I could add to it, and then maybe Nararyan sir and Mubina can add to it. Well, for now, most of the youth-led initiatives are at the very grassroots level, looking at mobilizing youth opinion and public opinion. Some of the participants of these youth groups do work in schools and colleges, but then I do not think there is a built-up process of taking these initiatives to school students, other than people doing it at individual levels, something that Narayana sir also said that he does it. But yes, I think it can be a good way to look at things if there could be a order of some sort in which these youth groups visit or local schools, colleges, and mobilize more youth. But I also have to add a point that the results that we expect from these youth-led movements, I mean, let's talk about Deepor Beel, the kind of results that we want to see. This is a very big issue at hand, and I think it's a little bit unfair to just put the onus on youth, because let's be honest, let's be practical. How much importance do youth groups get in the higher level meetings or conferences where most of these decisions are taken? So yes, on one hand, we need to push so that youth gets a place in this decision making tables, but also maybe look at how can youth groups also be supported from authorities, from different agencies. How can these support be brought to the youth groups rather than just asking youths to go and take such big steps alone? Yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, actually, well said. Yeah, Mubina, you would
I
like to
can
add something?
give two quick examples. Like recently, we had one problem coming up in the Nagaon district, where a forest, a stretch of a forest was about to be cut down for like widening a road. And we have seen the youths of that area coming up. They hugged the trees. They had made it a movement, and ultimately, government had to like they could listen. They had to listen to what the youth has to say, and that project has been abandoned. So when the dumping site from Deepor Beel was about to be shifted, like Perseli was shifted to Sandrapur, we had again seen youths. They had actually taken it upon themselves. They even went to jail, some of them, while protesting, and they were still protesting when they have been like cordoned off by paramilitary troops and even police surrounding the whole area. And not only youth, the women, and they were like continuously for some more than a month, they have been protesting with different like activities. It was sometimes if it is the women on one day, it is the children on the other day. So the whole community was involved. So these kind of situations, these kind of exactly activities we rarely see. And I think that this should be like taken to, these models should be taken to other areas where we are having such situations. So
Definitely, like Mayuri said, that these youth groups definitely need more support from the people who actually can bring about the change, and obviously encouraging these youth groups. They can definitely take up more responsibilities and play more important roles in this thing. Like Vibhu sir has said, mentioned in the chat box, that if the youths are supported, I think they can actually come up with a state of wetlands report of, like, how the wetlands are performing in the state, or they can actually be a part in the decision making. So that's a very good point that you have highlighted. I would invite, I think Vishal had raised his hand. I'm not sure if he still has a question, or was that answered already?
Yes.
Would you like to take the
Yeah,
platform,
so
Vishal?
actually it was partly answered already by Mayuri. So what I wanted to know was that, so this garbage dumping site is of course the main issue. So is there really an alternative to it, or is it that like there's a politics of urban planning that like as Mayuri said, that the dumping site can't be in the main city, it has to be somewhere at the periphery, some at at the banks of a Deepor Beel. So is there a politics of urban planning that is driving this? That is what I wanted to understand.
Do you?
So I really want, like, there are 60 wards in Guwahati. So so if you given a chance, I would make small decentralized garbage dump in each 60 wards, and let the ward manage their own garbage, not throw there. So in that way, I think the more you pollute, more you suffer. So because I think there is a 60 watts, decentralize it, like make a small one, segregate it. Whatever organic waste are there, you can make biofertilizer, use in the gardens or whatever it is there. So I don't know, maybe that's an outrageous suggestion, but I think why not? 60 watt can take their own garbage and do it. I think nothing better than this.
Sure.
Yes, actually, that's a very good suggestion. I would say.
No, actually, the government, they started it in Guwahati in 4 words, but very ridiculous situation there, because there were no people to operate the system, particular system. So it actually gathered dust.
Right.
So we'll take the last few questions now. I think Pramod has a question. I'll invite him if he wants to talk about it. Pramod, do you want to take the stage, mic? Please unmute yourself and pose your question in case.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Are you
Can
hearing me?
you hear us? Yes, yes.
In Deepor Beel, the situation regarding dumping ground is very pathetic. Actually, while talking about dumping site and the way government has dumped, there are various norms as per NGT, the Rohit Chaudhary versus Union of India, the case where NGT directed NGT directed GMC to decentralize the whole process, solid waste management process in Greater Guwahati, Greater Metropolitan City. Almost the affidavit submitted by GMC, and they have almost more than 125 bighas of lands in different areas. And while we are protesting, GMC commissioner urged to visit various decentralized process in the city. I think it 25th April, like that, May. So when we are visiting this site, we have not seen any scientific management system in Guwahati. But they are talking about where Bilpar, there is a biomechanical plant they have set up, and in GMC they have set up a biofertilizer. But when we are visited the site, the actual scenario is different. So this is the situation in Guwahati regarding solid waste management. Till that, GMC has practically no scientific management system. But in pen and paper, they show different ways they are taking step. But I think there are while they are submitting some affidavit, they also mislead the court, NGT also, in various way. And court had directed them, Deepor Beel has to conserve as per wetland conservative rules and solid waste management rule. This is directly pointed by the NGT. But still GMC had nothing to do in actually where they are set up now, Bellor Turn dumping site. This is the flood prone area of Deepor Beel. In this monsoon season, when we urged to GMC commissioner to visit the dump site from Deepor Beel, we take him from Deepor Beel to inside the dumping ground. What it shows? It shows that the connection of Deepor Beel and dump yard is directly connected. This is the situation right now.
Thank you, actually, Pramod, for sharing the situation on site to us. I'll take the last question from Fauzia ma'am. She had raised her hand, and
thanks. I didn't have a question.
As a concluding question then.
I just had a comment, I just had a comment, excellent presentations, and comment on what Mayuri said, in fact, on the youth part of it. So we actually start expecting, as she rightly said, too much from the youth. We have to please understand that they have a career also alongside, because this is something that they are doing alongside their education, and a lot of activists, I have seen, like there was one on Twitter who was very closely connected with me, Aditya Dubey, who would do a lot of activism in terms of air pollution in Delhi. He was just in 12th grade, and now he has moved to the US to pursue his undergraduate studies. So somewhere or the other, they have to strike a balance between the two. So expecting too much from them, and the three pillars that we are talking about. So while We want them to work on social sustainability, on environmental sustainability, but we don't assure economic sustainability for them. So that way the system doesn't work. You will, passion, something that's being done out of passion, somewhere, there is always these constraints come in between. So probably, people like us, we need to also look at how we can provide them. Like, the suggestion which was there on the wetlands, state of wetlands, for instance, it could be taken up as a research topic across institutions and we can build it up. So somebody takes, like this, Guwahati can take it, Terry can take it in Delhi, and Hyderabad, Bibu can take it, somebody else can take it up in Bangalore, and 4 or 5 institutions come together and get students and pay them to do that. So everything gratis expecting from them is not really the right thing to do. So that was my first observation that I had. My second thing that I wanted to mention was on the treaty part, which I think you were mentioning about Ramsar thing. So we have actually, and the policy which Mubina was also talking about, I think we have actually too many policies, we have too many acts, regulations, treaties. Ramsar is, of course, an international treaty. So these actually are guidelines. First of all, some of these guidelines are written very beautifully. And I always say that, like, Jal Jeevan Mission is a beautiful manual. But how are they being implemented? Who is supposed to implement them? It's people like you, me, government, who is responsible for implementing. And where that polycentric governance, Mansi, which you were talking about, I think the institutions. So we have those institutions missing, the right institutions, the governance mechanism. So in isolation, these can be there. You can make more policies also, but till such time that we have the right people, or we are able to use the right set of stakeholders to govern them, I don't see that there is much change happening. And the third thing, on the waste part, we do a lot of talking on that also, but probably, the circular economy, if that can pick up. So even if we're looking at the decentralized waste system, I know in Japan, when I was there, I saw that waste recycling cultural center in Tokyo. So they actually named it as a cultural center. So it was not just getting segregated, but when it goes there, it was sort of getting used also within the system. So how can we really get to the point where we treat waste as not as a waste, but as a resource out of place? So that's something that we need to really work on. Thank you so much. It was really good to listen and learn. And every time, I think, thanks for supporting Wednesdays for Water.
Thank you, Fazia ma'am. That were actually very good points, and thank you for sharing the point that actually we need to look at our waste as not as waste but resource, and that is something that we take as a concluding part from our session today. I would like to thank all our speakers today and the participants and posing for all the questions. I know, Mubina, you have a meeting next, so I would be like, we'll be thanking you again, and it's fine if you want to leave the meeting to attend your next meeting schedule. I would just conclude with saying that this was a first discussion on the wetlands, and we also have a next discussion on the wetlands and wetland interaction, focusing on the Loktak Lake next week. So please do join us next Wednesday on September 7th at the same time, 5 p.m. And we also have Friday sessions going on. So this Friday, we have a session. We have a session on Friday at 5 p.m. where we are showcasing a water movie on Jal Dana by Bikramjit Gupta. So please follow our social media accounts to get more details on it. And thank you all for having us in this session today. Thank you, speakers, and thank you, participants. Thank you all.